Hello, hello. This tutorial is going to show you how to create this Dino embroidery. Your embroidery kit comes with thread and a large needle. The pattern is already pre-printed onto your fabric, so you're ready to start stitching. We are going to start with the green thread. So go ahead and grab your green thread, and we're just going to unwind some of it from this plastic bobbin. And you're just going to take as much thread as you're comfortable using. Start with a little if you've never done embroidery, and then you can get more the next time, just so you can get used to it. Unwind the thread and then grab some scissors, and you're just going to cut the thread. Now we're going to grab our embroidery needle and we're going to thread the needle. It helps if you lick the thread, and then you can kind of pinch the ends together to help make it easier to get it through the eye of the needle. So you're just going to put it right through that hole and then pull it down so you've got that little tail of thread hanging. On the other end, we're going to tie a knot. To do this, we're going to take the end of the tail and we're going to wrap it around 2 fingers like this. And then you're going to stick that tail right through that loop. And that's going to make a knot. We're going to pull that tight. And you can do it 1 or 2 times. So I'll do it 2 times to show you. I'm wrapping the thread around my fingers and then sticking that little tail right through that loop and pulling it tight. And I'm just pulling it tight right on top of the other knot to make an even bigger knot. So I'm kind of using my fingers to push it on top of it. So now we're going to grab our needle and we're going to start embroidering. So grab your fabric and your hoop, and you're going to bring the needle up from underneath. You can start anywhere you want. I'm starting on the neck. Okay? So I'm starting from underneath the fabric and I'm pulling the needle all the way through. And the knot is going to stop the thread on the back. And then I'm going to insert the needle making 1 stitch. So the stitch is about 1 centimeter long. Now I'm going to bring my needle back up, going a little bit ahead of that stitch that I just made. I'm going to pull the needle all the way through, and then I'm going to put the needle back into the fabric in the same place as where my other stitch just ended. So it's going to go back into the fabric in that same spot. I'm going to pull it all the way through. So now I've got 2 stitches that are touching, and I'm just going to keep doing this. So I'm going to go up ahead and bring the needle up from underneath, pull it all the way through, and then I'm going to insert the needle back down so that it's touching the stitch that I made before. And you're just going to keep doing this. You're going to bring the needle back up from underneath. It's kind of hard to find where to bring your needle up from underneath. It's going to take a few tries if you're new to embroidery, but if you keep practicing, you'll get faster and you'll know where to bring your needle up the next time. We'll come and do the little mouth right here. I'm just going to do 1 straight stitch, and then I'll pick up with the head where I was before. So I'm just going to bring my needle up from underneath and then stitch so that it's touching the previous stitch I made. And pull all the way through. And you're just going to keep doing this all the way around the body of the dinosaur. And you're just going to pull the thread all the way through. So remember to always bring your needle up from underneath. You don't want the thread to accidentally get wrapped around the side of the hoop. So always come from underneath and then insert the needle back down right next to the previous stitch. So all your stitches are touching. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit in this video. So if you need to pause the video to catch up, you can go ahead and do that. Once you get to a point where your thread is too short, you got to tie it off on the back and get some more. So I'm going to show you how to do that. You're going to slide your needle underneath a stitch that's close by. You're not going through the fabric, you're just sliding it underneath a stitch. And you're going to see this little loop that forms. You're not going to pull all the way through, you're going to keep this loop that's coming, and you're going to stick the needle right through that loop. And then you can pull it tight, and you're going to do it 2 times. So you're going to slide your needle underneath that same stitch. Don't go through the fabric, just go under the stitch. And then you see that little loop that's forming? You're going to stick your needle through that loop. So don't pull all the way through. You want to make that loop first and then stick your needle through it and pull it tight. And that's going to make a knot on the back side. And then you can take your scissors and cut that tail. And now you're ready to get some more thread. So you can put this one to the side and you can grab some more thread to keep going around your dinosaur. So I'm going to unwrap some more green thread. This time you can take a little more if you got more comfortable using the thread. And we're just going to cut that thread off. So now with our new piece of thread, we got to tie a knot on the end again. So you're going to take the tail and you're going to wrap it around 2 of your fingers. And then you're going to stick that little tail right through the loop that you made with your fingers. And then you're going to pull it tight and that will make a knot. Remember, you can do this 1 or 2 times. So wrap it around your fingers and then you're going to stick the tail through that loop and pull it tight. So now you're ready to thread your needle. Remember, you can lick the ends and then squish them together to help you thread it if it's too hard to get through the eye of the needle. So now we're just going to pick up where we left off. So I'm going to be working on the leg next. So I'm going to bring my needle up from underneath. Remember, the knot is going to stop the thread on the back side. Then I'm just going to stitch ahead a little bit. Pull my needle all the way through. Then I'm going to bring my needle back up from underneath a little bit ahead of that previous stitch I just made on the leg. And then this stitch is going to go back and touch where that previous stitch ended. I'm going to go right down the same hole of my other stitch. And I'm going to keep doing this until I'm done with all of the green parts of the dinosaur. Okay, I finished all of the green parts of the dinosaur. If you need to pause the video to catch up, go ahead and do that. But now I'm going to take some orange thread and I'm going to unwrap as much as I'm comfortable using. This part will be pretty easy because we're just doing straight lines. So I'm going to go ahead and cut off some of the orange thread. And then we're going to tie a knot at the bottom. So I'm going to wrap the thread around my 2 fingers and I'm going to stick that tail through the loop and pull it tight. So now I've got my knot and I'm just going to do it 1 time this time. Now I'm going to thread my needle. So I'm going to lick the ends and then squish the thread together to make it easier to get through the eye of my needle. I'm going to grab my needle. We're just going to stick the thread through that little hole which is called the eye. And I'm going to leave a little tail on the end so that my needle doesn't come unthreaded too easily. Now we're ready to start stitching. So with this part, we're going to be doing just straight lines. So I'm going to bring my needle up from underneath, just right here at the bottom. And the knot is going to stop the thread on the back side. And then I'm just going to do a straight stitch up along that straight line of the dinosaur. Okay, we're going to pull all the way through and now I'm going to do the little point part. So I'm going to bring my needle up from underneath. I'm going to bring it up ahead of the other stitch and then we're going to stitch back towards the first stitch. And it's going to go right in that same hole. So it's called a back stitch because you keep going back to the stitch you did first. So now I'm going to bring my needle up a little bit ahead and then I'm going to stitch back to that stitch right in front of it. And this is going to make the point on the scales of the dinosaur. And I'm just going to keep doing this until I've covered all of the spikes on the dinosaur. And you just want to remember to make your stitches touch. Otherwise you'll have little gaps between all your spaces. So you want to make sure they're touching and going down the same hole every time. And we're just going to keep working until we've done all of the spikes on this dinosaur. Okay, we're almost done. I'm on my last little spike for this dinosaur. So I'm going to insert my needle through and now I've got to tie it off on the back, okay? So remember to do this, you're going to slide your needle underneath a stitch that's close by. You're not going through the fabric, you're just sliding it underneath a stitch. And then there's this little loop that's forming. You're going to stick your needle through that loop and you're going to pull it tight. And you're going to do this one more time. So slide your needle underneath that same stitch and then you're going to stick your needle through that little loop. So don't pull it all the way through. You gotta let the little loop form and then stick your needle through it and pull tight. And then you can cut off the extra thread and you're done with your dinosaur. The next step will be to get rid of the fabric on the sides of your hoop, so see your instructions in your Kiddie kit for how to do the back of the hoop. Grab your next embroidery kit at threadunraveled.com.